And we are live. Welcome back to the Mecca of Banter podcast. I am this week's host, Henry Wind. You can find me on Twitter at Henry Wind. Upon saying that first line, I realized it's been a minute since I've hosted, I think, which is kind of cool. So yeah, thanks, man.
Weeks.
I'm happy to be here. Sorry for the listeners having to listen to my voice throughout the entire episode, but hey, we're here. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. I'm going to get that out of the way early, and I'll probably say it a couple more times throughout this pod. But, we have a special guest for the second time on this podcast, Nate Griffin. How are you doing today, man?
Cheers, lads. I'm doing great. I know we'll get into the craziness of this past weekend, but I just good mood, good day, good Easter, everything else, man.
Yeah, and we wanna shout out integrity to Lucas Winkleman for not being able to show up today after dropping points, and he did get a replacement. So shout out Lucas.
I got his replacement.
Yeah, thank you. I'll come face the heat. I'm not scared.
Yeah, he's here. Another man who might be scared today, James Wind. What's going on? How you doing?
Nate Griffin, welcome to the B squad. Anytime your team loses points, welcome. You and me. Baby.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
No, it's great to be back on the pod. It's a horrible week to be a Chelsea fan continually. Yeah.
It's just going bad to worse over there at Chelsea. It is a season to remember, that's for sure. Andy Hoover, check in, brother. How you doing?
Doing swell. Another week. The roller coaster continues. The end of the season matches look pretty tough, and we don't have a coach. So, but hey, another day at Tottenham Hotspur, lads. We're here for it.
I feel like at the beginning of the season, if we just threw out some of the storylines that we've encountered this season with Tottenham and every other team, you just wouldn't believe it. I mean, we're at the end of the season and there's multiple teams that don't have a coach, but whatever.
It's insane.
Connor Sandobri, my United brother. How are we feeling this week?
Fellas, it's great to see you all. Doing well. I was sort of reflecting this time of the year last year, Hen, you and I were sitting there already looking to Frankie de Jong, completely out of every single competition, had absolutely nothing to live for. And now all of a sudden, a year later, here we are still in a lot of competitions, playing well. So happy to be here, fellas. Happy to dive in. Look who showed up, fellas.
Happy to have you. And look who showed up. Mr. Butchart, you came just in time, my friend. Check in this week. How are you feeling? How you doing?
What's up, you clowns?
Hey, Butchie.
Holy shit, Griff's here. God dang, man. Holy, dude. We got a squad. How we doing, fellas? Sorry I'm a little late, but glad to be here. It's great to see you guys.
Well, happy to have you. We have a cracker of an episode this week. We're going to go through our weekly recap where we go through our team's Prem games over the last week, well as recapping the St. Louis City absolute embarrassment to the Seattle Sounders before we move on to our flowers and showers and a look ahead to the upcoming week. So starting with my favorite team in the world, we're going to stick with Manchester United, who had two games this last week, a 1-0 win over Brentford and a 2-0 win over Everton. Connor Sandobri, give us your thoughts on the last week and how we fared in the last two games.
We're sort of at that point, last two games, Brentford as well as Everton. It's kind of we've said it before. It's without Casemiro, it's sort of get through the games. If you end up with some wins, you're sort of in the best spot. How you play doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. And that's kind of how it was with Brentford. We didn't look too good. We scored a great goal. Shout out to Bitcher, shout out Rashford. But at the same time, we didn't look good. It was one of those games where we sort of looked like we were in it a little bit at moments. We looked great at moments. And then at moments it looked like Brentford, as they do against everybody, can be dangerous and create opportunities. So definitely happy just to squeak out Brentford 1-0 with the dub. Everton was a completely different story. From the first minute of the game, it looked like we were going to beat them and probably should have beat them 7 or 8 or 9-0. 21 chances, I think the most ever created since it was 1950 something in a single half. Although I think only 6 of them or 7 of them were actually on goal. So we need to do a little bit better job there. Breaking down the game a little bit specifically, more into this Everton one, I think there's a few different players that sort of deserve shout outs from this one. I mean, obviously you guys are going to hate him, but I have to shout out Bruno. Bruno played as 6 this game. Bruno this season has played as a 10. He's played as a left winger. He's played as a false 9. He's played as a right winger. He's played as an 8. He's played as a 10. And he was arguably he was the man of the match on Saturday. The other person I sort of have to give a shout out that I'm he doesn't get enough praise has to be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like, he's one of those players that Hen and I talked on Saturday. And if you watch this game, he's like quietly just class. And defending, I would argue with anybody that he's the best defensive right back in the entire league. And when Eric Ten Hag says that you've made strides in your game going forward, like, that to me is like a great indicator that he's actually getting better. And it definitely shows on the field. So happy we cruised 3 points, and all of a sudden Casemiro's back, Eriksen's back. Eriksen stepped onto the field and was arguably the best player on the pitch. I mean, he sat there and he was spraying balls with his left foot, spraying balls with his right foot. I don't know why Tottenham ever let him go for free. But you know, we're definitely happy just to pick him up. So happy with 2-0 win, and on to Europe.
Yeah, I think getting 6 points from those two games were massive. Obviously, when Casemiro's out of the lineup, we've all talked on this podcast about how anything can happen with Manchester United when Casemiro's not on the field. So picking up 6 points from two teams that we should get 6 points from was really nice to see. I also like seeing Sancho as much as we have. You know, it pains me to say that, you know, there's an $80 million player who might make the starting lineup, but for the last two games he's been fun to watch. He's picking up really good spaces. He's really different than a lot of the wingers in the league. I still, you know, wonder what it would be like if Grealish went to United and Sancho went back to City. Who knows, but it's nice to see him get some good touches. A little bit of an injury worry moving.
Was that rumor? Is that you just being like, that would be cool?
Oh, there's just been a lot of like discourse on Twitter of saying how like Sancho and Grealish signed for the wrong teams, like because they both signed in like the same summer for City and United respectively, and people
Sancho
just
was a
saying how
City boy too.
like the play styles would have like fit the alternative. And Sancho, before he went to Dortmund, was in the City Academy his whole upbringing. And they also let him go for like pennies. But going into Sevilla, a little bit of the worry moving into that is potential Rashford injury. We know how nails Rashford has been this season, and he has come up big in so many games. You know, even that 1-0 win over Brentford, like realistically, we should have scored a lot more, but we relied on Rashford to get the one, and he did. If he's out for that game and potentially more games moving forward, it does concern me quite a bit. But we'll see. We won't know anything with Ten Hag until literally the hour before the game when the announcements are made for the lineup. But Dobes, we also have Forest at the weekend. We have Nottingham Forest, another team that you would think on paper that we should get 3 points. Do you see this another 3 up, 3 down, get the job done?
3 points. It's 3 points. I mean, at this point of the season, every single game, seriously, it's a final. We're in the top 4 race right now that we probably shouldn't be in, but we put ourselves in. And so now every single point matters. So I think take care of business on Thursday, and then Forest, we should cruise.
There's nothing that in my heart I can give to Forest to defend them to say that they can pull something out. They don't do anything for me. They don't do anything for me.
So,
do you guys? Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Do you guys back yourself to beat Newcastle top 3? They've been playing well. I'm curious.
I think so. I think I'm excited because for the first time, like our best midfield when we went on our roll early in the season was Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno. And we haven't got to see those 3 together for 2.5, almost 3 months now. No. And so I think those 3 and Casemiro also being back with the ability to now rotate Sabitzer, like we finally have our healthy midfield back for the biggest stretch of the game. So that's why I think Newcastle, yes, they've been cruising. I mean, obviously they cruised this weekend, beat us. I just think that they're more likely to lose one of these games that they have towards the end of the season than we are. I genuinely think we should have 3 points for every single game the rest of the season. That may be ambitious, but I do think that's definitely possible in the goal.
And their strength of schedule is a lot more than us.
They play us in City.
Yeah, they play you. They play Aston Villa, who has been on an incredible roll. They do play the Tottenham Hotspurs.
At
which
home,
you don't know what you're gonna get.
We're gonna get throttled at St. James Park.
So, there should be some games in there that they win pretty handily, but there's also some really tough games that, like Dobe said, I expect us to win, all 3 points in every game that we play for the rest of the season. And with some of their games, it's kind of a toss up. So I'll back us to finish over them. I also back us to continue moving forward in the other competitions that we're in, which feels good, fellas. Feels really good to be in a couple competitions. I know that not many of you know what that's like. So
Any of.
yeah. I mean, there's
Chelsea
one
fans do. Yeah.
Yeah, there's one guy in this chat that knows what it's like to be in. Well, actually, they're kind of in one competition.
Bro,
they are in
I was
one
gonna say,
competition.
Oh
that
my
was-
God.
Hey,
And
man,
he's in a
hey,
wad about a semifinal in the Europa.
You know,
Keep your Thursdays.
Chelsea's got to worry about putting the goals in the hole. Baby. That's the famous line. They can't put the goal in the hole.
So speaking of that Chelsea Football Club, James Wind, you had a shambolic week as a Chelsea fan, but is par for the course as a Chelsea fan. You had a 0-0 tie to Liverpool, which we'll come back to, Butch. Don't think that that's we're passing over that for you. But then you also lost 1-0 to Wolves. What's going on, bro?
I think I would like to start the week by saying Frank Lampard gets a job back. A 43% win percentage as his time as a manager is, a great look for a top 6 club. At this point in time, like it feels like we're a bottom feeder, just quite honestly, like very frank with it. Lots of money
Good
wrapped
pun there,
into
fella.
a bunch of guys that don't do a goddamn thing. I think Liverpool, I'll let Butchie talk a lot more about. I think that Chelsea definitely had a lot more chances. Definitely, if they could hit the back of the net, would have won the game easily. I don't think that Liverpool created a whole lot of chances that were that great. Maybe one that you could say was a good chance, but Chelsea for sure had like 3 or 4 really solid chances against Wolves. I quite honestly, I watched until the 67th minute. Does anybody know what happened in the 67th minute? Anybody? Frank Lampard's boy, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, got subbed in
Baller.
for Joao Felix. So that's a great trade-off there.
The
Baller.
Great
return.
trade-off.
The return.
Yeah,
coach-
yeah,
great
a guy that
coaching.
Lampard
Great
really,
coaching.
really wanted. I would say that really, really cool stat from that game. Yes, we had 1.13 expected goals. Expected goals on target. Can anybody guess a numeric value for that?
You go in the negatives.
0.01 expected goals on target.
Yikes.
13 shots
Damn,
taken,
bro.
one of them hit the net, and it
That was a
wasn't
tough
even
watch.
worthwhile.
0.01.
Dude,
Tough watch.
it's so
Holy
bad.
shit.
Wolves stuck exactly to the game plan against Chelsea, which is score 1 goal, and then you can do whatever you want because Chelsea's not going to score. So that's where I'm at right now.
It was a missile
Banger.
too.
Yeah,
it was
an
a
awesome goal
screamer,
for Wolves.
bro.
I mean, it's scoring
It
against
was so
anybody
great.
with that, but still, it's like, dude, it's just nails in the coffin. It's done. I'm looking for the future. Like when I look at our schedule the rest of the year, so for like the next 2 months, we have obviously the 2 games against Madrid. We have Brighton, Man United, Brentford, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, and Man City. So
You're
like
screwed.
I was talking, yeah,
You're screwed.
dude, I'm like,
It's so bad.
I looked at Henry the other day and I'm like, relegation is real. Like we could seriously not get another point for the rest of the year, period.
That
Like I
Frank
can
at the wheel,
100% see
baby.
it. Dude, what the fuck? But it's 100% real. So the only real games that we have to win are Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. Things are looking down as ever against Real Madrid. I don't think that there's physically any chance that we scrape a point by in the first game, and certainly not in the second game either. I think that we get swept under the table. I could see us losing by 6 in the first game and just say, yeah, it's not even worth trying in the second game. Like, can we cancel a game in the Champions League?
Isn't that what
So-
they
At
did?
least you
to
got
Liverpool?
depth. At least you got depth to play him.
Yeah, it's
Lot of
super.
depth.
Yeah.
A lot of guys
So
don't
A lot of
get
depth.
What I will say is Thiago Silva's supposed to be coming back in the next week. If he can come back for Wednesday, that would be a massive boost.
Yeah, that's huge.
I think it would get Koulibaly, who also is on FOTMob's team of the week somehow. I think that he would get out of the lineup, or Kukurea would get out of the lineup, which would make me so happy. But like having Kukurea in that lineup and not having Badiashile, it looks even worse now, especially after the last couple of games that Kukurea has had. He's just not a center back, period. Like for him to play on that left center back position is so ungodly bad. To not play Chilwell last game, like it's just it goes from bad to worse.
Are
So-
you
the
happy
funniest
Chilwell
thing.
resigned?
Huh?
Are you happy Chilwell resigned or about to
Yeah.
resign? I know there's rumors about that.
I like Chilwell a lot. I think he provides a lot of value, especially with him and James. Like the 1 or 2 opportunities that's happened in 2023. Like whenever they are both playing at the same time, I think that it's very nice because it does provide a lot of value moving forward, which is something that we struggle with handily. But when you expect your 2 wingbacks to be your primary sources of offense, there's just no game plan that's going to work with, especially when you have no real striker. You have a very, very, very high priced forward in Joao Felix, who is class. He does make a lot of great plays. He is like by far the best player on our team, but he's not scoring. He's creating great chances. He's hitting the bar. If he had a fucking $1 million for every time he's hit the bar, it probably plays his whole salary for this year. Like, it's just, dude, it's
Maybe.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Stylistically, dude, the only thing that I see that's different with Chelsea and the way Tottenham play is Harry Kane. Like,
That's true.
It's so true. It's so true.
and I've got a whole lot of ammo and some gunpowder for that when we hit Spurs. But thinking about it right now is like, oh my God, same. Oh yeah, the best striker of all time. But
yeah, like imagine putting Harry Kane on our team right now. Like, how different do you think that would be?
So much better. I mean, just immediately that much better.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Somebody that can actually hit the back of the net or hit the net, just in general.
Yeah.
You know, Jake, man, I had this thought in my head, man, of who I think who can fix your defensive struggles. And he's one of the best tacklers I've ever seen. And his name is Daniel Hornsey. Okay. This guy, you should see him at Sunday League, man. He's out here freaking 2-footing people, just absolute beauty of a human being.
It was an incredible tackle. It was an incredible tackle.
It was, you sign Hornsey, you pair him with Thiago Silva. That's a world-class partnership for me.
Dan's got the
I'd
wheels.
buy his jersey, bro. I'd buy his jersey. No,
Dan's got the wheels to cover,
Now, Jake, I know that you said it the other day and you just said it now that relegation is a possibility.
This is why that's fucking.
I kind of thought that you were blowing it out of proportion, and then Saturday night Nick said the same thing when we were at Sam Ave, and especially with your strength of schedule, and you all are not that far from relegation.
We're 12
it is
points
a possibility.
Off. Like we're 12 points off. At one point, we were like when things were really spread thin, we were, I think, 10 points from relegation and 10 points from playing European football, like top 5. So I think since then you've seen teams excel. Like some teams have kind of stayed in the middle. Like you look at like Brentford, Fulham, even Liverpool have kind of like stayed where they're at. You haven't seen any movement there, but like Villa shooting up, you see more of a gap between Tottenham and United and Newcastle, like really shooting up as well. And obviously, City and Arsenal are still there. But like with the strength of schedule that we have for the rest of the year, like it's genuinely scary. Like I do not feel optimistic whatsoever at all.
More losses than wins.
Yeah.
And a negative goal differential, and it gets tough.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
That's what we call a failing season, bro.
That sounds like mid-table football.
Yeah.
I genuinely think Chelsea's my favorite segment every week.
And if you think I'm not going to enjoy this
so
now,
different because Nick defends them, right?
That's
Nick's
what I was gonna say.
Always.
Jake,
like,
I was gonna say, Jake, got to give you some credit for just just own it, because Nick would be sitting here throwing out random stats, trying to defend what's going
world
on.
class.
But it doesn't stay
World
like
class
this. Like I'm watching it happen now, and I'm having to enjoy it because it's not going to stay like this. The way that I see it is so much money, so much investment in what they're doing. You're gonna be back up if you stay.
Yeah.
But especially with the footballing brain that is James Corden now pulling the strings at Chelsea.
Anything depends on, they got to hire somebody. If they don't stay with Frank, they got to hire somebody serious to get this thing moving, man. I think that's the biggest key.
Yeah, and I really think they will. I think between the lineup of guys that they've had that are coming in for interviews and other things like that, my thing is why not allow Bruno to make decisions for 3 weeks and go through this process and interview them, and rather than give up the rest of the season, which could quite literally fuck you. Like you could literally be out of the Premier League if you do not handle this correctly, and bring in Frank Lampard is certainly not the way to go about it.
Hey,
Because
he's a relegation hero.
Relegation hero, man.
Yeah. He can't manage for a full season, but you put that man in a relegation battle with Everton and winning on the last day. Fans storm the field, baby.
He's a club hero. He's a Chelsea legend.
I know. Yeah.
Jake, but
hopefully things get better.
before we leave Chelsea, this is like a genuine question, because week after week, anybody with 2 eyes and a brain that watches Chelsea like talk shit on Cucurella.
Mhm.
Like, and I mean everybody. I haven't seen a single person defend him anywhere.
Mhm.
So like, why does he play? Like, give me like anything that you could think of a reason of why he's in the team every single week or still plays, because we talk about it week after week. Everybody talks about it, and yet somehow he still ends up in the team.
I think it's perceived effort, man. I think it's like when you're a manager or a coach sitting on a sideline and you see a kid go balls out every single day, like when you watch like YouTube videos of their training, like that's what he's doing. Like he seems like the guy that puts in 110% effort, that you're like, well, he's the hardest working guy we got. Worse shit, we might as well give him a chance. And I think part of it too is Badiashile is so young. I think they want to give him time. Like Cucurella's got, I honestly think they're like potentially trying to give him time to like sell him, but like after his assist against Villa against us, like that's looking worse every single game he plays in. It looks worse. Quite honestly, I have no fucking clue why he plays. He's horrible.
Whopping
Horrible.
6.6 this weekend.
Dude, Badiashile and Cucurella are like almost the same age. It's not like he's like 8
that's the crazy thing, right? Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like it's not that different in age, but I think like when you look at their longevity, I get it. Cucurella is supposed to be playing as like a wing back, and you're not going to play him over Chilwell, but also at the same time, why are you playing him as a left center back? Like at what point does that make sense? I think Thiago Silva being hurt is really tampering with what that looks like. And maybe it's trying to gain again, especially like against Wolves, right? Maybe it's trying to get that back 3 set in case Thiago Silva is not ready, and Cucurella has to play in that position because that's what's available. So like, that's what I fear a little bit, but it also makes like the Badiashile being left off that list look so much worse.
Yeah.
Cause in my mind,
So bad.
it's just like, why would you not, like Lewis Hall was fine games or week, whatever. It was like week, as soon as we came back from World Cup, he was fine.
He played a few games.
Yeah, and was way better. I mean, I would even put him up against like the way Chilwell's played this year. Yes, Chilwell has a couple more points, whatever, but like Lewis Hall did great for what, like, especially being a defensive midfielder, getting thrown in as a left wing back on a shit team, did just fine. And to see like Cucurella get the nod over him, I get Lewis Hall is still young. He's learning. Same thing that they're saying about Badiashile, but at the same time, like you can't, it doesn't matter. Like you have to play those guys.
Yep.
Totally get it. Well,
great point.
You know, Chelsea, you went 0-0 with Liverpool this week, and Liverpool played that game and another game, which was the keynote game of the week. And we're going to bring in both the Arsenal and the Liverpool fans to this one. A 2-2 stunner, one for the ages, as you may say. A game of two halves, I think, when you're watching it. So Nate Griffin, Ryan Butchart, talk us through the 2-2 game that was Liverpool Arsenal.
Butchie, after you.
You're not Griff. You go, bro.
Okay.
I'm the
Okay, so I would start by saying there was in the starting lineup, there was some interest to see if Saliba would play. And I know for me, that was something that would have been key. And rumors he might play. Starting lineup came out, it was Rob Holding. I think that's a tough one for us. I honestly think if Saliba plays, it might end up differently. Because we started so well. And he's so clutch to how we play out of the back. Like you saw in the game when you guys were pressuring us, we're trying to play at the back, and Rob Holding gets the ball, he panics, kicks it long. You guys won all the first and second balls. And from there, it's just the wave of pressure in the second half. But I thought we played so well in the first 40 minutes. Like I was texting Dobes and Tony, and I was like, man, like if you would have given me a dream start, 1-0, 8 minutes up, quiet, the crowd's quiet. You know, we're playing pretty well. We're keeping the ball. And I hate to make excuses, but I think if we make it to halftime 2-0, I think that might be enough for us to squeak it out. But credit to Liverpool. I was telling Dobes this. That might be the best I've seen them all season in what I've watched that second half, because their press was on point. We had to kick it long when we did. You guys won every second ball. You brought it all the way back, and you pressured us the entire game. And I haven't seen us been outplayed like that this season that I can remember. Yeah. And like I said,
the whole season.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's credit to Liverpool. But I do want to shout out Aaron Ramsdale. A lot of questionable people were like, that's not a good signing. And we had Leno was the goalie, but the way he plays with his feet and the incredible saves he made at the end could be a difference maker. And last but not least, Gabriel, our center back, was immense. Like there were times 3 or 4 times I can remember he was 1-on-1 with Salah, which is not a great matchup for us, and he won. So I thought he played incredible. But I still think we take that, especially considering City lost there, Man U lost there. Over to you, Butch. That's my take of these.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I'm going to bring something up that I think was a turning point in the game, and I think this guy's an absolute dumbass for doing it, because you don't poke the bear. Granit Xhaka awakened the fortress of Anfield when he tried to start shit with Alexander-Arnold in the 41st minute, and then a minute later we scored.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think he poked the bear and woke that crowd up, because it was quiet. You guys were by far the better team. He tries to start crap with Alexander-Arnold, and all of a sudden, the place just erupts. And a minute later, Salah scores. We get to halftime. Yeah, we get to halftime. It's 2-1, and then the Liverpool blitz for 45 minutes, just wave after wave. I think that was a turning point, and I genuinely think it was avoidable. I think Xhaka could have just walked away from that. He obviously smoked Alexander-Arnold after the ball had gotten away from him. They both got a yellow. That was a turning point for me, and I think that was a dumb decision from an experienced veteran in him. Obviously, the missed penalty from Salah, you know.
I was about to say, you better fucking mention that.
Yeah.
No, 54th minute, Salah gets a PK opportunity, misses the goal for the second time in his last 2 PKs. And before that, in 5 years, he had never missed the net. And he's been taking our PKs for 6 seasons. So pretty wild to see the funk that he's in from the penalty spot. But I thought the substitutions from Klopp were great, bringing on Thiago after 2 months out. And then he brought on the kid, Bobby Firmino. He's him, bro. The man loves
Thiago was nuts.
Thiago changed the game completely,
Thiago was
bro.
gross.
I think your subs won the game, and our lack of subs
100%.
kind of lost us the game. It was crying out for our left back and maybe a more defensive approach earlier on than Arteta did. But
yeah, you know, Arteta, he didn't sub till the 80th minute, you know, and I think that did hurt you. Thiago was great. Bobby, huge goal. The nutmeg from Alexander-Arnold was unbelievable. I mean, he just dusted. It was crazy. He nutmegs Zinchenko, and then 30 seconds later he's yanked, bro. Arteta said, "Get out, little boy." He said,
and then he's crying in the stands. Oh, it was so hard to watch.
Yeah, that one was
hard to watch, man.
I've seen him cry more than anybody else.
The second Trent got free, you knew he'd pick
cries
the ball
all the
out.
time.
It was, but
it was a great
Butchie,
goal, you know.
the ending of that game was nuts. Nuts. I mean, Ramsdale, big save. Konate, chest into felt like knee chest into the goal. Ramsdale save, breakaway, 3v2, and we didn't capitalize. But
yeah, I agree. You know, I think the game was there to be won. Liverpool could have easily snatched it, and I think that for me, when I watched that was the Liverpool I've been seeing all year. That lack of clinical execution after 45 amazing minutes. And I was kind of mind blown, because I'm like, God, we got back in this game down by 2. Konate's 3 yards out and he tries to chest the ball. Like, bruh, you don't have that big of a chest, man. Just put that little thing away and head the ball.
That's
What
a
are you
center
doing?
back finishing. That's a center back.
Yeah,
head the
literally,
ball.
that's what it is.
Yeah,
Like not knowing
yeah.
what to do.
Yeah, just
But-
head the ball. Like, what are you doing? You know, like I couldn't believe it, but credit to Ramsdale. Like he's in the right place. He made the save and saved the game. So tale of two halves, man.
What did you think too about I thought the ref was horrible, but the halftime incident with Robertson is pretty wild, man. Like I think we got to talk about that.
Yeah, for those that didn't see it, make sure you describe it because it's weirder the more you talk about it. So
Yeah.
definitely describe it.
Yeah. So go ahead, Griff. Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Okay. Well, Robertson is walking up to the assistant ref after the halftime whistle. I guess he's trying to get confirmation on something.
Why you say it like they're having a polite conversation?
Yeah, Robertson's fucking like yelling.
He's trying to get some information from the guy.
Obviously,
Asking for directions.
Robertson's a little hot, you know, with his thick Scottish accent. He's going after the ref, and it looks like Robertson does kind of make a attempt to grab his arm, I guess, to get his attention. But what blew my mind was the referee guys literally just threw his elbow into Robertson's face. It actually hit him. He hit him in the chin with his elbow.
Should have hit him harder.
And I thought it was, well, I mean, for me, that's disgusting. Like these refs are always like, respect the referees. It's a two-way street. Like if you want these players to respect you, you have to show respect back at all times too. You have to set the example. You're the one that runs the game. You can't elbow some dude in the face. I don't care what he said or what, handle it in the tunnel behind closed doors, have a conversation, but you don't throw your elbow up when he's trying to get your attention. That for me was disgusting.
It kind of looked like he tried to like push him away a little bit with his elbow, and Robertson's head was kind of there. Like I almost like think he wasn't trying to bow him. He was trying to like just get some space, but it looks bad in the video for sure. It looks bad.
Straight up here to here, and that like
it was like
a quick motion. That's an elbow.
It's like
to the face.
Come on.
Yeah,
some room.
The only thing I can really say about like when I watch it over and over is like if that situation happens on the field, that's getting VAR'd in an immediate red card because it's like an elbow to the face and it connects and obviously Robertson's going to go down if that happens, but like
I'm sorry,
it's just weird. Go for it, Dobe. Say it.
I just don't think it's that much. Like I genuinely think there needs to be a rule, and there's nobody worse than Bruno. Like there's nobody worse than Bruno at getting in the ref's face. Like I genuinely think that like something needs to happen where like only the captain can talk to the referee, and if anybody else does, like you get a yellow. Because these fucking
that's how it is in hockey, man.
These guys fucking berate these referees.
Yeah, they do.
Say every single fucking thing in the books, get in their face, try to grab them. Like, I don't think he should elbow fucking Robertson, of course. Like, that's fucking stupid if he did mean to do it. But at the same time, these fucking referees, yes, a lot of times they are fucking shit. But they still get screamed at from every single angle by fucking Bruno screaming in fucking Portuguese, calling them something. Like, at some point, I do feel bad for these guys, but like, maybe suspend him a game or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck else you're gonna do. Like Robertson's fucking yelling Scottish in his ear, probably calling him a motherfucker, like talking about his family or some shit. Like, shit happens.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. All I gotta say, like, Dobes, if this happens with our boys, you're holding me back. I'm storming.
Yeah.
If I see a ref elbow our kid in the face, you're literally having to restrain me because I'm hot, and I know I would do the same for you. If you saw it and I didn't, I'm holding you back.
Especially a linesman, not even the main ref.
Like,
man.
As a coach, I would be hot if I saw that. So it's not a good look. It's not.
He's making the whole thing about him, bro. Linesman, classic.
Now,
for
the both of you,
I was gonna say, go ahead, and go ahead.
I was just going to say for the both of you looking ahead, Griff will come back to you in a second, but Butchie, moving forward, you all have Leeds at the weekend, who, as we know, Leeds are in a dogfight of a relegation battle. And I do want to jog your memory that it has been over a month since you all have picked up a singular point or anything more than a point, I should say, in the Premier League. You haven't come away with 3 points since United. That's a long time. What's your confidence level going into this Leeds game? Are you completely at 6s and 7s? Like, do you just have no confidence at this point? Like, what are you feeling going into Leeds this weekend?
I'm actually pretty confident after watching Leeds get battered 5-1 by Crystal Palace at home. When I saw that, I'm actually pretty confident. I think Crystal Palace is obviously a team. We're going to talk about them. I know later on they're a team that has turned the tables with their new manager, and they've got a lot of new belief. But having watched Leeds, they're very vulnerable. And I watched that game. Like Crystal Palace is they had a phenomenal performance, but they're vulnerable at the back, and I think we can hurt them. Obviously, it's a tough place to play. Leeds is not easy. It's not an easy environment to go into and get 3 points, but that result kind of gave me, some hope and confidence going into the game.
Love it. We'll see if that holds true over the weekend. And Griff, no need to tell you how important every game is moving forward. These were a big dropped 2 points for you all when it comes to the title race, and what an important point to take away from that last game. But moving into West Ham, who has been well documented to be underperforming this weekend, is it going to be a bounce back game, or are we potentially seeing some faults in the cracks? Because I'll also point out, I didn't really give any thoughts on the game itself, but you all did look great in the first half. You came out ready to go. It was probably the worst half of football I've watched Arsenal play in the Premier League this year. In that second half, not only did they concede the goals and potentially even more, they just sat in a way that I have not watched them do all season. And they did that against a Liverpool team who, while they were playing out of their minds in the second half, it's not like they are the top teams in the league. So are we going to see a bounce back game against West Ham, or is this going to be the part of the season where you're going to look back, in 6 months and be like, man, if we could have only pulled around on Liverpool and West Ham, we would have won the title?
I'm so glad you asked, because when I told you before I had stats, I came with stats, my friend. Okay. I think, just to answer one thing real quick, I'm curious if Arteta talked about preserving the lead against Liverpool. And if so, I wonder if that might have been the wrong move considering how much pressure they applied. But looking forward, what I would say is the last time we dropped points was when we lost to City. And after that, it was the question of, they're going to bottle it. Here comes all this stuff. After we lost to City, we won 7 games, and then we tied against Liverpool at Anfield. So I would beg the question that we respond pretty well to a loss. Our next 2 games are West Ham, Southampton. I mean, if we have any chance of winning the title, those got to be two quick wins.
Have to be,
yeah. And I pulled up this stat. They looked at cities. They're like from match week 29 to 38 over the last 5 years. They've dropped points in every single year but one, which that 1 year was incredible, by the way. It's 10 wins in a row, which is crazy. And with all their competitions, I feel like there's all this pressure on Arsenal. Everyone's saying, can they do it? But City have the FA Cup, they have the Champions League, which is, I think, their biggest priority, they might admit, and they still have to play some hard games. So I think that if we can get within a few games of the end of the season, still up, I like our chances.
We'll see how they do. I think that's a great stat, responding to a loss against City with 7 wins, not so bad. Dropping only 2 points out of potential 24. That's not too bad. Moving over to Mr. Tottenham, we have Andy Hoover in the controversy that was a 2-1 victory for Spurs. I'm just gonna let you take this one, Hoop, because I feel like you'll give it some justice.
Yeah. So I'll leave the spin zones for the end. I'll let you guys, get your shots in and whatnot. But ultimately, we saw the tale of 2 extremely different teams. One team had an identity, an ability to play within a system that they knew and that they were reliant on to create attacking movement going forward, and they lost. So that was Brighton. Spurs didn't look like that at all. I shouted out a tweet on the young Yid pretty early. It was like 2 minutes in, and it was like, all right, so these guys have an identity. Like they do, we don't. It was so obvious. But Heung-min Son international superstar, 100th Premier League goal for Tottenham. It was a belter. It was classic Sonny. Cuts in on his right and just curled it to top right corner, and it's unsavable. And he does it. He did it, I mean, so many times last year, which is one of the things that I did want to mention about the style and system is he was interviewed after the game. And in the interview, he literally was like, yeah, I love that position on the field. I feel like I've scored a lot of goals in my life from those positions on the wings when I cut in and curl. And he's like, the way that we play, we were specifically asked as wingers not to shoot in that position. He was like, I was instructed to leave the one-on-one situations to the wing backs. And so he's like, we wanted crosses into the box. So Kulusevski and Heung-min Son were instructed to be in the box with Harry Kane occasionally to be the targets. So immediately that pissed so many people off. Like it's Heung-min Son coming out and saying Antonio Conte was stifling him as a player the entire season so that even Perisic could look okay sometimes. So that's super aggravating. And none of it on the right side would have happened either if, Emerson Royale didn't have like 3 or 4 games where he looked world class. But other than that, that's been the biggest issue the entire year. Like you got to let your wingers do the wing thing instead of be target men in the middle of the box. Like Sonny has not had the year that he has in the last 7 or 8 with Tottenham. And I think there's a direct reflection from Conte and his style to that downfall. So that sucks. And you could see Sonny just looked uncomfortable all year. He never knew what to do with the ball. His first touch was always poor and never to the right area. I think that was super indicative of how Conte played. But the real story of the game is Brighton. They did look good. They had a goal chalked back from Matoma, a great chipped ball over the back line that he allegedly brought down with his right bicep. That one was close. I'm going to revert to the players' reaction on the pitch because these guys wear their hearts on their sleeves. A lot of times you can just know immediately if that goal's chalked off, someone's going to lose their fucking mind. Matoma put his head down, started to walk back towards the center circle. Like that to me was more indicative of the actual VAR review of what you could even pull from the video that they're up close and personaling. Like that's the finest line that there possibly could be. It probably did hit part of his chest, you know what I mean? But his arm's there too. And if it hits the arm, it in some way is gaining an advantage. That one I was okay with. I could see the issue with it. He then got stepped on by Højbjerg in the 60-something minute. Dunk scored a header that was, just towered over everybody, and Hugo Lloris looked like a fish out of water. But that's, Tottenham. So the Matoma gets stepped on. That's the one, right? It was a clear pen. There's just no defending it. It was a clumsy challenge. He stepped on his foot, and that's it. That's all it was. That's all it takes. That's all it should take. That was suspect. Lot of controversy. I want to say the Premier League came out a couple hours after the game and apologized that someone had missed a call. Yeah. It was another one of those situations. Clowns. It was very Cucurella and Romero-esque from the beginning of the season to where Dean Smith or whatever it was is like, yeah, I missed that. Sorry. So that I'm okay with that one being the one that Tottenham gets all the calls, that whole line. I would like to bring in the stats that I brought to the table. And I do feel bad for Brighton. I do feel bad for Brighton because with what I'm about to read, it does show that they get screwed a lot. But simultaneously, top and bottom of the league, VAR decisions against and for. VAR decisions against Brighton, 8. VAR net score for Brighton, -6. These guys are at the top and bottom of those lists. And that's a really painful stat to see.
Oh, fuck.
Not far off is Tottenham with 6 VAR decisions against. And we can go down the list. There's no top 6 bias, I don't think, when it comes to this VAR thing. That's where everyone's like, Top 6 guys at all the calls. Ugh. This thing is Brighton, West Ham, Arsenal, Crystal Palace, Leicester City, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Tottenham, Bournemouth, Brentford, Leeds. Some of those teams don't get calls, they're low in the table, but Arsenal's the second most. Like we're talking about legit teams. Newcastle gets screwed all the time. And then the net score, Liverpool's a +5 VAR net score. It's not been indicative of their season. That is not no reflection of how they've been able to hold up within the season.
Butch ain't trying to defend that with VAR, baby.
No,
Who's past that game week 4?
It's human. There's a human error aspect. I'm not defending that VAR call because Harry Kane puts the goal away on a nice pressure from Romero. Fjordberg finds a pass. Harry Kane's going to score that 9 out of 10 times. I feel bad for Brighton because this happens all the time. We've got Casemiro in prison FC every other week because of someone framing a photo of him, touching Will Hughes' face. So it happens to everybody. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's Tottenham, lads. We get all the calls because we don't. Like, no, it's never happens to me. I'm elated that we got 2 calls that went our way in one game and came away with 3 points. So I will not apologize. But I will agree that it was a wrong call. Game ends up totally different at the end.
I mean, you also got a goal called back for Danny Welbeck too. They put in another
that
goal.
One was
that guy.
That one was suspect. Yeah,
he just breezed over that one.
3, 4, 5 decisions.
I'm good with that. I mean,
holy
suspect.
fuck.
He could put his arms up higher or something, right? Like,
but Brighton got an apology from the Premier League. So that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's
what matters.
Yeah.
So Hoove, this dance with you is always fun. It's you guys are shit, you guys are great, you're in a good mood, you're in a shit mood. But like eventually we're at the like sort of this make it or break it time of the season for everybody. So like it's very interesting that Spurs Twitter, I have not seen like expectations from anybody on like nobody has been able to like predict what the next couple weeks, because I think you guys have like Newcastle, United, Liverpool, Palace, somebody else. So like what are your expectations for this, like these last couple of games? Like is top four bust, or like what are the expectations?
Bro, we don't have a manager.
That's what I mean. Like
that. It's just the fact that
we forgot Stellini's red too.
Stellini's red and De Zerbi's red was insane. Neither of them deserved a red card. They just scuffed in the middle. And I will say the video of Stellini standing in his technical area with literally the entire rest of the staff in the face of these Brighton guys. Stellini's just like looking over at it. Like, come over and give him a red card. He's like, what? Me? That was wild. The end of the season thing. When Conte left, I don't know. You guys it was pretty obvious. I don't fucking know. Like, there's no plan. There's no vision. There's no idea of what we want out of the future. You want to be top 4. It's just the simple math. The higher up the table, the better. Europe is a must at some capacity. I think if you drop out of the 5th spot, it's a colossal failure. Despite the fact that the year is already a failure. But I want a manager. Like, I want someone with a plan, an idea, and someone to be like, yes, this is how we're going to do things for the next 3 to 4 years. I don't know who that is. I don't know when that happens. It won't happen, if anything, in the past that Tottenham's done with their business dealings until the end of the transfer window, when the new manager has 3 weeks to try and get someone in September. So it's like, that's where we're at. Start with something. Our director of football is in prison, as far as I'm concerned, banned from FIFA. So where do you start? You got to get some guys in. You put together an identity. You try and re-sign Harry Kane, and you hope to God everything works out, because that's where we're at. Top 4 gives Tottenham so much higher of a bid for a top class manager. That's it. But and then you look at the rest of the season. I genuinely have minimal faith with the rest of the teams that Spurs face. Like, they're gonna get shit pumped at St. James Park, like in the most like glorious fashion. I'm going to watch it happen, and I'm going to hammer Newcastle money line because they are going to get pumped. They do not play well under pressure. They have not played anywhere of legitimate status and won. And St. James is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Nobody goes there and has a good day. So I have no hopes. I think dropping from 5th would be worst case. Best case is hoping that you or Newcastle drop points and we don't drop as many. So
We play you guys too. I think we play you guys in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yep.
yeah, I think it's at
Big
home,
game.
which is cool. But
The battle for Harry Kane. Is that what
Battle
we're
for
gonna
Harry Kane, sure.
dub that game? I mean,
You guys have Richarlison at least.
yeah. Hey,
So,
yo.
when he doesn't have a nicked leg or something. I haven't seen that pigeon.
Unbelievable.
I've seen that pigeon dance one time this year.
I've seen it more in pro clubs, bro.
I
More in pro
know.
clubs.
All of
Sure,
us have
baby.
the same amount. All of us have the same amount of Prem goals as he does.
Hey,
Uh,
hey, I love it. Well,
One-
that was our weekly recap. You can count on that every single episode where we're going to recap our team's games from the previous week. But we do have a segment for the St. Louis City Boys. This is the second, the second week in a row that we're coming on here talking about a loss, which is not something that I'd like to get used to, I'd like to say, for this MLS team. This one was nothing shy of an embarrassment. I know that the majority of us were watching it together at Tam Ave. Shout out Tam Ave.
Sponsor
But-
us, home base.
Please. You can sponsor us for the Mecca of Banter podcast and the Cleveland Browns home bar in St. Louis.
Some
Up there with
get some
the
green
highest
tea.
So
pedigree.
weird.
Get some
Highest
green
pedigree.
t-shirts made.
But we saw
Yeah.
some things that we have not yet seen from this team, beginning with a 5-3-2 formation, which I hated from the moment I saw it on FOTMob before the game. I'm not going to dominate this conversation, so I'm going to open it up to the group. What did you guys see from this City side in this game, and where did we get it so drastically wrong?
Dude, first of all, let's put context in the situation, right? We're having a great night. We get to Tam Ave. There's a lot of talent there on and off the field that night.
Always
We're
is.
drinking a lot of Coca-Colas. I'm standing there talking to the bartender, ordering a Coca-Cola and some green tea. And Hoove taps me on the shoulder and he's like, "Bro, did you see the lineup?" I said, "No." He said, "It's a 5-3-2." I said, "What the fuck?"
It's done right there.
And then we get there, we're watching the game, having fun. And we looked like we hopped off a plane jet lagged. And the coach was like, "All right, good luck." Bruh,
It was bad.
dude, we
It's
had
bad.
zero ideas. Like, it wasn't like, what I didn't understand is why did you go away from what was working?
Yeah, agreed
Like-
completely.
4-4-2, high press. Yes, Seattle's good, but we're good. So why go away from what works and switch to a 5-3-2 when you're sacrificing wide players' width? And I just didn't understand it. Like,
The only
I don't
the only time you play with five at the back is when either of your wing backs are competent. I have watched this purgatory that is Tottenham Hotspur for way too long to not know what that looks like. We asked Nerwinski and Nelson to do things that they don't normally do.
Yeah.
I think that was obvious. I think the first half was okay in the sense that Seattle looked really confused. We caught Seattle off of them being able to play a style and system, and it was just scrappy, not a good half of football, definitely played into the away team's hands. And then there was nothing going forwards either. It's not like, we had a whole lot of opportunities. And then the wheels just fell off, dude. Fell off.
Well, I mean, but you brought it up of changing formations. Last week we talked about the same thing. When we played at home, both games that we've lost, we've changed formations. And last week we saw, like a 4-4-2 diamond, which was weird. And then like today, or excuse me, Saturday, we saw 5-3-2, which was also weird. But what was interesting is, but remember, what was it, like a couple of weeks ago, you talked about how like we play so narrow, but we were playing consistently in like a 4-2-3-1, which was fine. But I'm also confused why we went away from what seemingly was working. And who knows, maybe behind the scenes, Stroud was carrying an injury, or Alm, I believe, was actually injured, not in the lineup. I don't know what was going on, but I'm really getting the sense that not only were we asking our wingbacks to do things that they normally don't do, but I'm getting the sense that our left back Nelson is not a offensive player whatsoever. Last week, the amount of times that he made somewhat of a run down the left-hand side and we just refused to play him the ball. And then this past week, the amount of times that he tried to carry it forward and just like the ball was just getting stuck under his foot, or he couldn't put the cross in. It just wasn't good. We're relying way too much on Klaus to just be magic. When you watch the game, Hebert can pick up his head and look for a ball. There's no one within 30 yards of him. We're just looking to pump it over the top and hopefully get a flick on. I understand that we want to run teams. We want to get them under a high press, but we have to have somewhat of an idea when we get the ball. And right now the whole idea is like pass it to the Italians. It's not going to work for this, where it's too high of a level for that to work. We also saw him sub off Lowen really early on in the game, which I found to be fascinating. When we were hunting for a goal, I subbed him off early and brought in Blom, who ended up getting injured and had to be taken off anyway. But I just think that it's a weird experiment that we've been running for 2 weeks against two teams that are good. It's just the wrong time to do it.
I will say not the majority. There's a large portion of the St. Louis City fan base that are massive fucking snowflakes. It's the most infuriating thing in the world.
It's extreme. It actually
they're
makes me
like
so
sitting there like,
angry.
what did you guys think? Are we gonna go 34-0? It's like, no, we didn't think we were gonna go 34-0, but we also didn't think we are just gonna look like absolute dog shit. And we're allowed
that's
to
a thing. Yeah,
we're allowed to sit there and criticize. And from the beginning, like, Cardinal did not get it wrong. Like, Seattle's one of those places. It's almost like the closest thing to a dynasty that you can like kind of have in the MLS, where like they've been there and they've done that for forever, the last decade. And if you don't get it 100% right, like, they're going to get you and they're going to score a few goals. One, you guys have already touched on the formation. There wasn't a single person in our back five that registered over a 6.5 match rating. And then you're going into Seattle, and I love Miggy. I think he's got a bright future, but like, that's not, in my opinion, the time to give him the start. Like, let him come in and be an impact sub. When you're playing with three in the midfield, he's got to cover that much ground. Like, Blom's sitting on the bench, and exactly what he does is cover every single blade of grass. So like, Carnell these last 2 weeks has like just got it absolutely wrong. We were straight up outmanaged 2 weeks in a row. We didn't have any impact subs. Like, we're sitting there saying like Klaus can't do it all, but at the same time, he's not in the positions he should be. He's not in the box with the receiving service. He's receiving the ball in the center circle, trying to combine and make something happen. And we're like, what? Like, why isn't he doing anything? So he's putting these players in positions where they're not set up for success. Just like if you said the wing backs, like Miggy, like Hebert, Parker, and Bartlett, those three were like, it looked uncomfortable the entire time. So Carnell deserves a ton of criticism, and not that he needs to figure it out quick, because he does deserve some time. Like, this is back-to-back weeks in a row where he's just completely got it wrong from the jump. And it was so apparent. We had no live back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can bounce back this upcoming weekend, but definitely a very, very depressing display.
I think where Carnell is handcuffed is the depth. Just straight
100%.
up 100%.
That's fair.
And if there's one thing that I will, I do think the formation and the style was wrong. He's got a pretty short bench of guys to pick to come on and change the game. So, but you're right. That makes that starting lineup that much more important. And it makes those timing and substitution decisions, which I will say, even in the wins that we've had, we've all still kind of questioned. None of these subs have always just been like, yep, this is perfect. This is what he's going to do. It's like 3 new guys in the 60th and then 2 new guys in the 80th playing out of position or playing, something of an inverted way of how they usually do. So we're going to keep watching these subs and I think keep scratching our head. But you're right. We have a style, we have a system, we have a way. I think we gave way too much credit to Seattle.
And way too much respect.
Dude, way too much respect. And I think everyone, gosh, it's hard to generalize St. Louis City fans because you're right. Some of them don't know ball. Some of them are wishy-washy and weak on willing to criticize the club. But that's literally what we do. This is the Mecca of Banter. We're not the Mecca of hugs and kisses, bro. So when you have a lineup that's that defensive with wingbacks that aren't offensive, we're going to just point out a spade a spade.
Yeah. And to what's nervy is that going into this weekend, we're playing Cincinnati, who is top of the table on the other side of the league. They are a wheel right now. Yeah. They're an absolute wagon. They're playing really well. I watched them prior to the St. Louis game this weekend. They're just a good team. They're solid. There's actually not a weak point in their team, unfortunately, and they're getting it done from all aspects of the field. So I imagine it's only going to get harder this weekend. So we'll see what Carnell comes out and does. I'd like to obviously see a result. So moving on to one of our favorite segments, the flowers and showers. So Nate Griffin, you're going to get the flowers and showers this week. So go ahead, brother.
All right. I'm going to start with showers. I think start with the positive, So it was a couple tough ones, as you can see with Dobes with the background. Close second was Ben Foster. If you didn't see his penalty save today in the context, go look that up because it was incredible. But I had to stick with one that's doesn't seem talked about that much, which is Aston Villa and Unai Emery. My old friend Unai Emery. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. This man, he took over. Good evening. The vampire himself, took over Villa, 16th in the league, and they're now 6th. And I to be honest, I'm not hearing a lot of. I feel like they've gone under the radar. Ollie Watkins looks incredible. I think he'll get bought up, but I can't praise them enough. And they look good. Like if watching them week in, week out,
they're electric, man.
Yeah, they're really good.
They have a style. Yeah. And I think if they back him, they could do something special in the next few years. I won't get ahead of myself from there because his time at Arsenal started well and ended terribly. But that's what I got for flowers. Showers, there was a couple candidates, but the refereeing in England this weekend was horrible. And we talked about it with the Brighton Tottenham game. And it's not even like the main referees, but it's like reviews are happening and they're getting scrubbed under. And it's like, I remember when it first came out in the World Cup, like have the ref go look at it, review it, take a minute. We'd all love that if they looked at it and said, you know what, he stepped on his foot, that's a foul. And just inconsistency in the Liverpool Arsenal game. And there's so many things that week in, week out, we're getting apologies after the game. And like, apology? What am I going to do with that, man? So I could go on for hours about that with Arsenal thing. That's definitely the showers.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you're right. We definitely skipped over. There could have been a couple more yellow cards in that Liverpool Arsenal game for some dives.
Hey, that's what we're talking about here.
The refereeing. But the refereeing in England was certainly terrible. The ref for the St. Louis game was atrocious. Gave Bartlett a yellow card in like the 2nd minute for nothing.
I'm off these guys. I'm off these MLS refs already. Dude, I got names on a shit list. Don Freeman is on my shit list.
I thought that the Rockwood School District refs were terrible, watching the high school games, but man, it just is bad all across the United States. But here we go. So finally, fellas, we're going to look ahead. We got some European action this week. We have a couple of Champions League games, and then we have the Europa League tie between United and Sevilla. But we're going to start off with Tuesday. We have City and Bayern. Now, we also have Benfica and Inter, but admittedly, we don't have too many notes on that game for this group. So we're really going to focus on City and Bayern. This is an interesting tactical game because, as we all know, Tommy Tuchel taken over Bayern over the last couple of weeks, and that man is tailor-made to win tournaments. He did it with Chelsea. He's a favorite right now to do it with Bayern. These two quite honestly, other than Napoli, are like the favorites to win this thing, and only one of them is going to move on from this round. So what do you all see for this game, and what are your thoughts?
This is gonna be nuts. I'm so
Yeah, it is.
excited. I'm really excited for City Bayern and to see what like setup the coaches bring out, the philosophy of how they're gonna go about the game. It's gonna be fun, man. I'm really excited. And obviously Erling Haaland. Did you guys see his goal, bro?
You see his
Dude, which
haircut?
one? Yeah, the braids.
Okay, yeah, his haircut's ugly as hell, but his goal was unbelievable. This
He's a
dude's just
robot.
different, man. He's so different. I don't know.
Do we think that Joao Cancelo starts this game?
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
I
think so.
I love that Tommy Tuchel took over because obviously Bayern loves to score goals. They lead the league in differential. I think they're like plus 50 on the year.
That's just gross.
Yeah, I think Tommy Tuchel provides that defensive stability and that defensive system that's going to make these guys be able to hang with a team like City. And if it's going to come down to just an all-out scoring race, I think it's going to be more enjoyable for everybody. Like I think
It'd be so
like,
fun.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun to watch. I think there'd be nothing more that Joao Cancelo would want to do than beat the team that he left because of personal argumentative reasons. So
Does anyone know in his contract if he's allowed to play? I
think
imagine he is. He is
So-
great.
I did see an interview today, and it was Tommy Tukes, and he came out and said something along the lines of like, yeah, I really just hope Cancelo can keep his head playing against his former team because there's obviously a lot of passion there, and how he feels about the club and stuff. But he came out and said that, and to me, that's like, get ready, City, like we are
Yeah.
unleashing this cat all over you, bro.
Can I please say that I hope it goes to extra time. I hope it's a rough. They're battering each other, and I hope they play every single minute, every starter. That's my hope for these 2 games. I don't care who wins. I hope City win. Let them keep playing games, man. That's where I'm at with this. Fun to watch.
I think that this one's. So I looked up the stat earlier today. Like, so the Guardiola versus Tuchel like matchup, the last 10 times they've faced, Tuchel's got 3 wins, Guardiola's got 1. They've drawn 6 times, and in those 10 games, there has been a combined 27 goals.
Whoa.
So
Let's go.
Sick.
Obviously, this is probably a lot of that is Tuchel at Chelsea, but like I do think Tuchel's one of those managers where he's going to go for it. Like 100%, he's going to go out and try to win this game, and Pep's going to do the exact same thing. So I think this is set up for fireworks. Like I truthfully do. Like we've talked about it so many times that City's going to be all in on the Champions League because they haven't won it. And I just think that's so true. Pep wants to get it done. And yes, they may have the harder route, but I think when this City team is on, I genuinely think they can be the best team in the world. Like without a doubt. So I think both of these teams at their very best, I think City wins. But I do think there's going to be goal scores. I genuinely don't even know who to pick to win, but as long as there's goals, we're all in for a treat.
I think I'm going to actually edge City here. And the only reason I say that is because I think they're so evenly matched, but it is at home for City. And they've played incredibly well at home, just like Bayern has played incredibly well at home for them. I think it's going to come down to who can score more goals at their home stadium, because I think both of them are going to do it. And obviously, like, the away goals don't mean anything over the course of 2 legs anymore. So it would just be really fascinating if one team wins, 3-0 and then the other team wins 4-0 at home. It would just be wild. So I'm going to give City the edge on this first leg just because it's at home, but I'm also expecting goals. Now, we've said that a couple of times in the Champions League where we're like, oh, this will be electric. Bayern versus PSG. There was like 2 goals scored over the course of 2 legs.
I was just gonna say that matchup was so miserable that it gives it to me on City as well, because how long's Tuchel had in this office? You know what I mean? There's no way. I think if any team could adapt quicker than any other team, it's someone like Bayern, who just have this rigid discipline that's just built into the club. So I think they're gonna adapt really well. But those 2 games against PSG were, oh my God, they were miserable.
Yeah.
I think it really benefits Bayern. The one positive for them is that they played the Etihad first. I mean, you can go and even like a 2-1 loss or a 1-0 loss, like they're feeling pretty decently positive going back to their home stadium, knowing that they have everything to play for still. And they, I think that's the one positive. I think it'd be better to pay at your own place second, but City have just been so good recently. I hope there's just goals. I think that's what we're all kind of hoping for. So
can you imagine if Holland scores another 4 in the
I
Champions League?
was going to say he's been there and done that versus Bayern. Like he's used to playing these guys coming from Dortmund. So I think he knows kind of how they play a little bit. I don't know how, I think he's got like 5 or 6 goals in his career against Bayern. So he does love a goal against Bayern. So hopefully fireworks, fellas.
Would love to see it. On Wednesday, we got some juicy matchups. Let's start off with the Milan-Napoli game. How are we feeling about that? I feel like Napoli is like what we're all really high on because they have just given us zero reason not to.
I'm all in.
Dude, they're so fun to watch. We've said it so many times on this podcast, like watch a Napoli game, and we mean it every week. They're so good.
Bro, a week ago, Milan spanked Napoli 4-0.
Thanked them.
4-0.
That's
in
wild.
Naples. In Naples.
No Osimhen though?
They did. I don't think Osimhen played, but dude, 4-0. I mean, we were talking about Napoli being the best team in the world 2-3 weeks ago on the podcast. Dude, I think Milan's got a shot of going through. They got
one bad 4, 5, 6, 7 loss game doesn't define a team. They're fine.
No, but it gives Milan the belief that they can do it again. You know what I mean? Like when it happens the first time, it makes them believe like, okay, Napoli's not untouchable because they've been untouchable all year. They've only lost 2 games the entirety of this calendar season, like 2 or 3. So like now Milan knows like, oh my God, we can beat this team. You know what I mean? So it gives them that belief and confidence. So I think it's going to be tasty.
We know where this one is.
I want Napoli to win.
It's in Milan, first leg.
Yeah, Milan.
Oof.
I'm excited to watch Rafael Leao and Osimhen, like those two going back and forth, and World Cup winner Olivier Giroud. Let's not forget, lads. Let's not forget. Dangerous.
The streets will never forget. The streets will never. And isn't Zlatan back?
No,
he may not be on the. No.
Oh.
Come on. 40 years old. Get a goal.
Dude, he's 41, man. He's hurt every week now. It sucks.
Still telling you that he's better than everyone else. And then we also have another game this day, which I would like to call the fuck it. We still got the Champions League derby. 2 teams that have given up completely on their domestic leagues and putting everything into the Champions League. Real Madrid and Chelsea Football Club. Jameson.
You got nothing.
I kind of already said it earlier. Like, quite honestly, we could lose by 6, like 100%. I think it. But like, what I will say is like, we took down Dortmund too, and every single one of you guys said there's no chance of us winning. Quite literally, I think Connor Sindobri said there is no chance in hell you guys win, and we end up winning by 2. And so
I second that.
Here.
I'm doubling the fuck down.
I put so much money. I had so much money on Dortmund last round.
But like 100% honest, like watching the first Dortmund game, I was like, okay, there's actually a chance of it happening. I think we could have won the first game against Dortmund.
Yeah,
I will say now playing against Madrid with their stance on where they're standing in like Champions League, I don't think we stand a chance. I think if we see again like another like 1-0 game, like I think Chelsea still stands a chance fucking somehow. No clue how, but who knows? Maybe we squeak through.
I think
Benzema hat trick.
You guys are just looking for hope. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you guys sort of keep it close, like, and they're like going into the second leg, like that's a win in my opinion. I do think we have to shout out that kid that I sent today, who's got that parlay going. He needs Chelsea to win. He bet $5 to win $139,000 in the last leg of the parlay is Chelsea beating Real Madrid.
At the Bernabeu.
Cash out.
Cash out, bro.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that helps is it's at the Bernabeu, the first game. So like you really determine your outcome. I think if it's the same situation as Bayern, you come back like 1 goal Like realistically, that's all Chelsea has the ability to score is 2, right? They haven't scored more than 2 since I think fucking August. So like I think like realistically, the chance of that happening again is like so little. But I think if you let them score 1, that's it. You come in with a 1-0 or whatever it is. I think there's
Coming
a chance.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Madrid
has to
by
be the
Billy.
same way. It has to be the same way you guys did to Dortmund because
And you have to have Thiago Silva. Period. Have to have him.
At least if you guys win, then you face either Bayern or City, so that should be good.
Yeah, things are gonna go
It's
great
better
from
for
there
you all.
too. Yeah.
Frank
We're chilling.
Lampard, did we trust?
Yeah, and then we can play City potentially 3 times in a month. That'd be so cool.
Dude, all I'm saying is it would be fucking unreal if you all did win and then
Yeah.
Frank got signed to a permanent contract and then Chelsea
don't.
continued to just self-destruct for
Don't
all
put
of
that
next
evil on
season.
me.
It would be incredible.
The
I
guy
wouldn't
who
be
gets
part of
this.
fired,
10-year
gets
contract.
fired, and then they win the Champions League, comes back,
Todd Bowley
almost
said
takes Everton to relegation, then
Dude,
wins the fucking
yeah,
Champions
it's like
League.
Todd
the
Bowley's like, you gave me the one trophy that I bought this club for, bro. You're here forever.
You're here
Permanent
forever.
contract.
Yeah.
Lifetime
actual
contract.
fear going through my body right now because I fully believe that will happen. Like if Frank Lampard wins a Champions League, he is never leaving, ever. Like I think his leash. Graham Potter had a 22 game leash, and I think he won 4 games that entire time? 5? I go, bro, you have to pull the leash sometime. It's
That's insane.
he's so bad.
Are Madrid just gonna do it again? Are they gonna win again, man?
I don't think they're
very
gonna,
well.
I don't
They could.
I don't
though.
think they're
If
going
anybody,
to. They could.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think like what's
Good.
weird about Madrid is like when they're on, man, they're on. Like that
Yeah.
first game against Liverpool, they just were relentless. We saw them put 4 in against Barcelona the other day, 4-0. But then there are games where they're just not on. The second leg against Liverpool, they were not on. They have been not on numerous times in the league this year. But I think it is one of those things too where I do love, I wish Nick was here because, Nick always talks about how, at least we have the Champions League and we're all in on the Champions League. No, like Real Madrid is too. Like Madrid is that way. And it's like an all-in Chelsea or an all-in Madrid. I'm taking Real Madrid. I just don't think that they have the firepower to go up against City or Bayern, whoever advances, because that is who they'll play next.
Or Wolves.
I think. Yeah, I just think that this is as far as it's going to go for Real Madrid. Certainly for Chelsea, but for Real as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you go out and dummy Barca 4-0 last week, but I mean, they lost to Villarreal this week too. So it's like you see the dichotomy of what happens and when they play really well and whenever they play really poorly. And like, who knows, maybe you let one slip through. I think if we go back to say some weird freak chance and we go back to Stamford Bridge and we somehow get a win or somehow I think it could be done, but not optimistic.
The fact that like the Champions League games where it's like 2 games, like we saw Tuchel actually do it, like where he took in, you have to get a result for 2 games. Like come in, can you figure it out? And I think the thing is like Madrid hasn't been great, but then you look at like Carlo Ancelotti versus Frank Lampard when it comes to like a game is 0-0, you want to make adjustments, make something happen. Like Ancelotti's been there, done that, won everything there is to win. Lampard may end up being a great manager one day. Like he's in such a tough spot where like he's got to get it absolutely perfect or Ancelotti will just outmanage him and they'll have absolutely 0 shot.
I don't even really think it's him having to be perfect. I think it's the guys that are actually playing the game having to actually give a shit.
Yeah,
I think quite honestly, like you
point.
see
the issues are building.
I know you guys say, oh, I don't tune into the game, whatever, but like genuinely watching Kai Havertz play the game is infuriating. Like the lack of effort, like so much talent that apparently is there. I don't potentially see it. Like I think that he's a waste of space. Like personally, I think there's other guys that you can fill there. I think you let Joao Felix just go crazy like he has been for the last month and a half. Like the fact that he's been unlucky hitting posts and things of that nature, I get it. But like, I think Kai Havertz and him link up potentially like once a game and people are like, oh, this is why Kai Havertz is here for like one pass. And it's like, dude, you're not even creating offensive chances. You're not even hitting the net whenever you do. And half the time, he doesn't even get the fucking shot off. So it's just, yeah.
Hard to get the shot off when
I'm
you're
done.
offside every time. So,
Yeah, dude.
you know,
So bad.
we'll see which formerly sacked Everton manager prevails in this game. And lastly, we have the Europa League clash between Manchester United and Sevilla. Manchester United continuing on their Copa del Rey run, that is the Europa League this year, playing at home at Old Trafford. Dobes, how we feeling? We get Casemiro back for this one. How we feeling?
This is us and Spanish teams, man. Like the last few years, like this is the first year it seems like we've sort of exercised our demons a little bit. But Sevilla's a good side, and on their day that they can play some beautiful football. This one will be. I do like our chances, especially how we've been at home this year. I do like it the fact that the weekend, Varane got a full 90-minute rest. He'll be 100% healthy. Kind of like I said earlier, this will be the first game where we have Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno able to play. I think there's a couple definitely interesting positions. And you mentioned Rashford being hurt. And I think that not drastically plays the way that we have to play, but he's such a vertical threat that almost nobody else in the world possesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so not saying we won't like come out and get a result, but we almost have to keep the ball a little bit more. And I do think Martial's slowly coming back, playing 30 minutes. Like hopefully we can get him to start, but that vertical threat is a little bit gone to where we're going to have to keep possession, build up. Somebody's going to have to beat somebody down the line. It's going to have to be a team goal, in my opinion. It's kind of how we're going to win this game. I think the two areas, one, I'm very interested to see who starts at right back. Because you and I talked about it. I think that Aaron Wan-Bissaka, as crazy as it sounds, like over the last couple months, like he, for me, is like easily the number one right back. I love Delo, and I think that on his day, Delo is better than Wan-Bissaka. But I think right now, Aaron Wan-Bissaka's form is he needs to be in the team. Like he absolutely needs to be in the team. Save Delo for Forest and let Aaron Wan-Bissaka continue the form. The other key piece is no Luke Shaw, probably. I'm hearing that he's like slowly making his way back. I do think Malacia is a great replacement on his day, but he does have those days where he gets caught. He's a little bit too physical. He's a little bit too aggressive, where he needs to be a little bit more calm because he's still a young player, still learning. So I think Malacia, Martinez, Varane, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka back forward with that midfield. And sort of whatever he thinks. I bet you he goes Sancho, Martial, and Anthony. And I think that is the team that can get it done. We're too strong in the midfield. Even if he starts Sabitzer instead of Eriksen, I'm still cool with that. I think that midfield is very solid, but also have to respect Sevilla a little bit. Sevilla is a team that on their day, they're in this position in the Europa League for a reason. So can't take them lightly, but I do think we come out. I'm going to go like 2-3-1 probably.
Yeah, it'd be great to get at least a 2-goal lead going into the second leg. I back us at home as well. No reason that I think that we'll give up the lead at home. Sevilla makes me nervous. They're classically, they need one chance.
Yep.
They need one chance just to put the ball in the back of the net. And they've typically done that, at least in this tournament they have. But I also think that we'll get that 3-1, 3-0 win. Now, I agree with you. We'll have to have some better link-up play and break a team down to win the game. But Martial does change everything. And especially when you combine that Martial and Eriksen, I really back us to break teams down in ways that we have not been able to with Weghorst up top. So even if we do have to break the team down, I trust us to do it. I just think that we'll get it done. So this week is big for all of our clubs, whether it's the weekend games or if it's the European ties. But we'll be on this podcast next week talking about how we did in each one of those matches. But before we sign off, Butchie, Factor Cap this week, man. Good to have you in the flesh on the pod instead of listening to my bullshit on a Factor Cap here.
Hey, man,
but, hey, man.
It's good to be here. I missed you guys. We got a Champions League Factor Cap, and I want you guys to be honest. No hard feelings here. I was thinking about it today when I was looking at the way that the bracket is set up. It's very enticing. I don't know if you guys know this, but on one side of the bracket, it is AC Milan, Napoli, Inter, and Benfica. That means one of those teams is going to the Champions League final. On the other side, you have City, Bayern, Real Madrid, and Chelsea. Okay. So my question is it a fact or a cap? Is the Champions League trophy finally, after 15 years, is it finally returning to Italy? Do you think it can be done? The last Champions League team, Italian team to win was AC Milan in 2007.
Mecca, baby.
So what do you guys think? Is it going to Italy?
I think the only reason it's not is because of Manchester City. I think this bracket, you're right, completely lines up 110% for one of those Italian teams to pull it off. And I do think if City was on the Italian side in place of Benfica, I'm thinking yes. I think it's Napoli or whoever can pull away from City. But I just have a hard time seeing them not raising this trophy.
Yeah, valid.
I'm going cap, but I think if over 2 legs, I think we wouldn't have a chance against Bayern or City. But in one single game, I mean, there is a shot. I just don't think. I think eventually the quality of a Bayern or a City pulls out in the end. But it does benefit them that it's a 1-game playoff for the whole thing. So that's the only thing.
I would that 1-game mentality with Napoli. Yeah. I'd be like, they could do it. They could do it. They could spring on the counter. They could put some plays together. Our boy, whatever, the left winger, Kvaratskhelia, whatever. he could just absolutely fuck. So that'd be cool. But yeah, I just think that there's too much to get through. Because, if Chelsea somehow pulls off a miracle, I'll put any of those Italian teams over Chelsea, but I wouldn't put any of the Italian teams over City. I wouldn't put them over Bayern. Napoli stands the best chance, but if for whatever reason Napoli doesn't go through, I don't think that AC Milan has anywhere near the firepower. I don't think Inter has the firepower. Napoli's the only chance, and I think it's still a long shot.
Okay, do you guys think that the winner of City Bayern makes the final?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Dope said no.
No.
You think it's going to be Madrid?
City or cereal bottlers?
It's Chelsea, baby. It's Chelsea.
Cereal bottlers, he said.
It's just a fact. Like, they get to this point and the pressure, the lights are too bright. Kevin De Bruyne is, in a big game, shits himself again. He can do it against Bournemouth. I genuinely, I'm going to go fact. And because I do think that Napoli, I think that Napoli can do it. I don't think that, obviously, I don't think that AC Milan has, obviously they know each other, but I just think that Napoli's quality is going to show through a little more just because they have been so consistent. And over one of the 2 games, I think they do get it right. And when they do get it right, they typically score
a lot,
2, 3, 4 goals. And I think that'll be the difference. And truthfully, I mean, I can see City getting by Bayern. I do think that, like, them against Madrid, like 2 legs, again, City on their day, one of the best teams in the world, but Madrid is that team that's been there and done that. Like, I very much would not be surprised if Real Madrid is in this final. Real Madrid versus Napoli, 1 game. Like, it's a coin flip, in my opinion. Like, genuinely, it's a coin flip. Like, this entire season, Arsenal's been up there with most consistent teams in the world, but Napoli has out and out been the most consistent team from like day 1 of the season. And so, like, I'm just going to back that and think that City are going to choke again and then Napoli can get it done. I think the one thing that does suck is that just adds that tax to Osimhen and my boy Kim J instead of coming to United. So, I mean, that's kind of a downside, but I do think they can do it.
Could you guys think, like, Napoli, Real Madrid, if that was the final, like, do you know how amazing and stress-free that will be for all of us?
We'd just be loving it.
Dude, we would be like 7 Coca-Colas deep, just relaxed, just hanging out. Like, we would have 0 stress about the game because none of our teams are playing. Like, how great would that be? That would be phenomenal.
If Napoli wins, bro, Naples will burn.
Yeah.
Naples is going to burn to the ground.
100%.
I do love Butchie. You talking about like just being stress free, bro. It's because Liverpool season is over.
I was gonna say, what a weird way to tie in
Yeah.
Liverpool shit. Like,
I
it's
just
so
want the
weird.
season to be over.
Butchie has next summer or next August circled on his calendar. already.
Yeah.
Butchie, we need Sevilla or whoever man you play in the FA Cup to win, so we can stop hearing about multiple competitions. I'm so tired of it,
bro.
multiple
So am I.
competitions.
Is it like a
So
jealousy
am I.
thing or what's going on?
We need more bad days as United
Yeah.
fans. Those are way more fun.
Bad days and
Uh,
bad weeks, but we can't find that here because it's a great day and a great week to be a Manchester United
James.
fan.
What's your take, though?
What I hope does not happen is that Milan spoils Napoli's season.
True.
I think if Milan goes through similar to Dove's, and I don't think that Milan stands a chance with really all three. I mean, City, Bayern, and Real. Like I think they lose to all three of them. And everybody knows Chelsea's not winning a game.
It would have been funny if you said City, Bayern, and Chelsea. And
Yeah,
just 'cause they're
no,
going through,
I know, but
He's honest. He's honest
Yeah.
and in integrity. I love it.
Yeah, but I'd say if Milan doesn't spoil their chance, I think there's definitely a chance. I don't see it happening, so I say Cap personally.
It's enticing, man. You know,
Yeah,
I think it'd be cool for like.
I
the
would like to
Italian
see
team-
it, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to happen.
Well said.
Well said indeed. And with that, fellas, we wrap. Nate Griffin, great to have you on this week's episode of the Mecca of Banter. Make sure you give us a follow on all of our socials. That's Instagram, that's TikTok, that's Twitter. Sorry, we've been a little low on the content on Twitter. We'll get that back this week and this weekend. As always, fellas, great job. Cheers.
Cheers, lads.
Yep.
Peace.
Cheers, fellas.